to Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey!
There's actually a whole lot to get to, because we've got a preview Backlash, but we've also had a bunch of draft stuff happening, and that's going to be in effect after Backlash, so focus on the Backlash. We'll talk about some draft in the second half if we've got time. But straight into the matches on Backlash. Let's just go, I don't know, let's knock out the women's divisions. Rhea Ripley, Zelina Vega, SmackDown Women's Championship on the line.
Yeah, this one, honestly, this one has does have me, thinking about it.
Okay.
At least with the draft, a lot more than I was before the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Because the two titles holders switched brands. So, if they wanted to put the SmackDown back on it, they could definitely strap Zelina. The only thing that concerns me is because of the other one is between two SmackDown people. So, I don't think they thought that part through quite that well with the draft. Although I will say it would be fun watching Bayley torment Michael Cole every week.
It's good to have that back.
So, yeah. I'll go with the 95% chance Rhea Ripley retains, but there's a puncher's chance for Zelina to walk out with the SmackDown Women's Championship. The only thing I hope is that they don't do the stupid trading of the titles.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, maybe just keep them both on SmackDown or something. Keep both titles, or maybe you do have Zelina win. And then, so SmackDown titles and the Raw titles are both on one brand. And then you have a certain event in 2 months that could pull a title back to, the Raw title back to Raw.
Yeah, the titles are always an interesting one. And they're always really messed up since they've been branded titles, right? Like the Raw Tag Team Championship, the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, same with the women's. We've had, I think it was the New Day and the Street Profits toss around the tag team titles. We've had the horrible Becky Charlotte segment where they swapped around titles.
Yeah, and that's the main reason I don't want to see just them do it, because they've done it twice already.
Really, at this point, just rename them.
One time it was fine. Perfectly fine. It was probably kind of cool to see the Street Profits and New Day interact for a moment. But yeah, that segment between Becky and Charlotte was just so bad that it makes me I don't want to see it again. But I think we're going to see it again. The only other option is to unify the women's championships at maybe Night of Champions. That's literally the only other option besides just flipping the script and saying, all right, Rhea's Raw champion, Bianca is now SmackDown champion.
Stop having branded championships. That's still going to be my answer. Obviously, we've got the WWE Undisputed Unified Universal Who-Flung Dungy that Roman's carrying around, and we got the World Heavyweight title now. That will be heading over to Raw. Previously, we have had the WWE Tag Team Championships and the World Tag Team Championships. You can pull off similar stuff. I get the uniformity. Personally, I really like the uniformity. But it does just make drafting stuff hard. Just keep the champions on their divisions, man. But, hey, they've done what they've done. I'm with you. Rhea Ripley most likely winning against Zelina Vega. The Raw Women's Championship, as you say, on the line between two SmackDown superstars, Bianca Belair, Io Sky. Are you picking a second retention here?
I will take second retention, and I'll say it mostly will end up being because of Bayley, intentional or otherwise.
That storyline hasn't gone away. Bayley and the rest of Damage Control still got their little fractures. They might have been drafted together, but we don't know how much longer.
Yeah. That said, if Io Sky does win it, I can absolutely see a Randy Orton style betrayal on SmackDown on next week.
Who's going on whose shoulders? Yeah, it's going to go one of two ways. I agree with you. The storyline is still Bayley fracturing off. Whether the storytelling device is Bayley messing up this match for Sky, or whether the device is Sky winning this and making a super jealous Bayley. We've talked about Bianca Belair being a little just above everybody else and it blocking us off a little bit, but we did just draft her. There is just a whole new set of people on her on SmackDown with her. Charlotte, Asuka, Zelina, Bayley, Sky, Kai, Shotzi, Lacey Evans. There's a few people around for fresh matchups. But maybe it is time. Maybe her title reign will come to an end. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one of those hard things to predict because I think if this was a situation where it was like the other title, where it was a Raw person versus a SmackDown person, I think we could see one of the titles changing hands a lot easier. Because it would make a lot more sense that way. But I don't know. It just seems like everything is set up for Rhea and Bianca to retain, and then whatever they decide to do with the actual branding of the titles, whether it's swapping of the titles, whether it's just introducing new versions of the titles. I mean, like replacing SmackDown's branding with like the WWE Women's World Championship and like just and make the Raw one like just the WWE Women's Championship or something like that. And then you wouldn't have to do the whole title swap. But either way, I think the champions retain.
Talking about champions retaining, we do have another championship match. It is the United States Championship on the line. Austin Theory, fresh over to SmackDown, taking on Bobby Lashley, who followed him over, and Bronson Reed, who stayed on Raw, ruining all of his chances to win this match.
Yeah, I think this will be an interesting match. I think it'll be a pretty good one. I don't see a reason for Theory to lose here, which probably means Lashley is walking out with the title. I mean, I think it's going to be fun. I think watching Lashley and Reed go at it during the match for a good portion will probably be pretty entertaining. But I think it'll come down to the end. It'll be the slimy heel steals it at the very end.
Yeah, if anything, I'm probably the most sad that Lashley and Reed won't get that big slobber knocker, given they've been drafted off.
Yeah, I think I'm excited with the way these rosters have been put together. I'm excited to see Theory versus Escobar.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that'll be an amazing match, and it could also be a match that could be the title changer.
Yeah.
So I think this is just going to be. I think he has a whole new set of people that he could face as the de facto guy, because essentially the guy is not going to be there about 90% of the time. So he's going to be the de facto head of the table, the kids' table, but a table nonetheless.
I was like, let's not pee off Roman Reigns, okay? I don't want him coming to my door.
So he'll get the face guys like Escobar, the newly drafted Cameron Grimes, which will be fun, I think a lot of fun. Possibly Grayson Waller, depending on how they want to do the whole thing. Rick Boogs. I think that'll be a fun match. Could have Karrion Kross or one of the Street Profits face him. There are lots of people that he could main event a SmackDown premium live event, assuming that rumor is true, and do just fine with.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens in Austin's future. we got time for one more match before we go into our entrance theme. We're going to go with Seth Rollins, who's found himself up on Raw, taking on Omos, who's probably, minus the Beast Incarnate, probably one of the higher profile free agents after this.
I don't know. I think, honestly, I think that's more of a yeah, we have nothing for him kind of thing. I would actually say that maybe the more high profile ones are Ziggler and Corbin.
True.
And Elias, which is surprising as well. Yeah, Seth Rollins. I think Seth Rollins has not won a pay-per-view match in like 2 years or something crazy like that. Let's give him a win over Omos here.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Raw men's division at the top of the card, obviously they're trying to build towards that World Heavyweight Championship, and I think a big player in that scene is going to be Seth Rollins, and that kind of requires him to pick up the win here. As you say, Omos being placed into the free agency does mean that, there isn't necessarily a storyline for him, which isn't a good sign. You're not going to put a guy over Seth Rollins just to flounder and do nothing. I think Seth Rollins is going to be a massive player on Raw, top 4 guy. Why not give him the momentum coming off of this one?
Yeah, I think Omos, if there's any plans for him, I think he needs to go back to NXT. Just to maybe round some of the edges off and something, or at least reset him. But yeah, I think this is about Seth overcoming a beast-like person on his way to an eventual final, probably against Cody Rhodes for the new Crown Championship. Also, unrelated, I do want to mention something that I noticed like an hour ago that I did not pay attention to. The 9th Intercontinental title reign could happen. The Miz is on the same show as Gunther now.
There is a chance. Unfortunately, Sheamus lost his chance, being drafted off to a separate division as well. That Intercontinental title will be an interesting one. Gunther having a whole lot of people to run through that he doesn't previously have, or, as you say, people like The Miz who could slimeball his way into number 9. Just before we move on from Omos, I think the only interesting part about his free agency is that Omos, MVP, Alexander, and Benjamin are all on that free agents list, which has, been the rumored storyline for a long time. Maybe they pull it off this time. Who knows? It is roughly halfway through the show, and that means it is time to go into our entrance theme of the week. This is where we would usually be playing Josh's birthday theme, but he's foregone that this time, and instead, he wants to hop on a rocket ship because he's going to the moon. And you're back to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. We got 4 more matches, I think, if I can count. 1, 2, 3 more matches. Turns out I can't count. Let's go Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar. They've been building and building and building. The one who wants to finish the story versus the free agent beast.
Yeah, and the moniker of being a free agent simply means we don't need Brock until SummerSlam. So, yeah. This is Cody Rhodes all day, every day. Twice on Sunday.
Is Backlash on a Sunday or a Saturday?
It's a Saturday. It's just a case of it's further elevating Cody Rhodes. I think he wins here. I would have him lose the finals to the new World Heavyweight Championship. Because I would have him win the Money in the Bank briefcase. And finish the story at SummerSlam against Roman. That's the path I would take. And then you could have a Seth Rollins as the first champion, or if you want to go that route. Or you could have a Finn Balor if you want a heel to be the champion. Or you could even do something crazy like turn Drew McIntyre heel and have him be the champion.
Yeah.
And have it like him beat Cody in a dirty way.
He has talked about wanting his moment in front of a live crowd. Maybe he'll do anything for it.
So there's lots of options with that new title. I think it's just a case of this is Cody going over the beast on his way to wherever his story takes him.
Yeah, it would be weird for Cody to take double losses in back-to-back shows, given the way his story's going, unless they're really doing like a beat-down, run-out story. But it's always weird to do those back-to-back with an undefeated storyline. So I do think Cody will come back to his winning ways here, and as you say, Cody will definitely be a part of whatever tournament that'll be happening for that World Heavyweight Championship. The co-main event. It's a San Juan street fight. Bad Bunny coming out, and he's going to go one-on-one with Damian Priest.
This should be fun. I think this will be a fun match. I don't know what they're going to do to make it San Juan.
It'll be a street fight.
Yeah, if it's a straight fight, I understand. But they always, when they do some sort of naming, branding to the street fight, they do something to make it that. You have your Miracle on the 34th street fight. You had, it was somewhat bad, but it was a lights out, blackout street fight from LA Knight and Bray Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always a theme, but are they going? I don't know anything that will make it that, but I think it'll be fun. I do think Bad Bunny wins, even though logically he probably shouldn't. But I think the combination with LWO, Rey Mysterio, I think will neutralize the rest of the Judgment Day, and Bad Bunny will win with like a Canadian Destroyer or something.
Yeah, this is the only interaction with the LWO and Judgment Day on this show so far. Ray not really dealing with Dominic, and they've been drafted off to separate brands as well, so don't quite know what we're actually doing with that storyline. It looked like it was heating up, it looks like that was the way we were going, and I don't know if we're going to cool on it, or if we're going to get a match announced this week on SmackDown, potentially, for the show. Could go a number of different ways on that one. Alrighty, our other co-main event, 6-man tag team match. It is the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, teaming up with Matt Riddle to take on the Bloodline, the Usos, and Solo Sikoa.
Yeah, this is the big match, I feel. This is obviously, I think, the main event. I think the faces win, and I think Jey Uso might get left in the ring after a Samoan spike.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. Obviously, with the draft, the way it was split was Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa were drafted as a duo, and then the Usos were drafted as a separate duo. You know, despite the fact we saw like the LWO in a group of 5 be drafted. So they definitely weren't against big stables being drafted. There has been multiple murmurs around the Usos and their future in the Bloodline, who's going to step in line, etc. It does seem as though Solo Sikoa is the personal enforcer of Roman Reigns now at this point. Yeah,
I mean, they even spelled that out on Raw. It's like, because Jay asked, where was he? Why didn't he come to help him with Matt Riddle? And it basically was, well, Solo is Roman's lapdog, not the Bloodline's lapdog. He worked for Roman. So I think it's a case where it's going to be, this is coming to a head, and it's coming to a head fast. And I think at either on Saturday, Roman gets fed up and orders Solo that if they lose this match, to take out his brothers, or that happens on SmackDown next week. But I think the Usos are getting kicked out of the island relevancy, and it will happen soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think Reigns and Solo being placed together as a duo does foreshadow that quite a bit. It does appear to be the way that they're heading. It's going to be heartbreaking for Solo to take out the Usos. His true flesh and blood, but I'm sure that's what will make the storyline so compelling. Because, it's not over the second they kick out the Usos. There's still bits and pieces to be built and to be had. And Roman Reigns matches to have before we get to SummerSlam, or we get to Night of Champions, or we get to wherever he is going to end up losing that championship. And whatever the hell happens to that championship in terms of splitting, renaming, rebranding, etc. So interesting times ahead for the Bloodline. I think you're right. Full speed ahead, pedal to the metal. Conclusions are about to be had. So we've got about 3-4 minutes left in the show to look at some drafty stuff. I think let's take a look at some NXT call-ups. Bit interesting. If we look on the men's side of things, we got JD McDonough, we got Jinder Mahal and Indus Sher coming up, Apollo Crews coming back up, Cameron Grimes we already talked about, Grayson Waller also coming up to SmackDown, Pretty Deadly buffing out the tag team divisions. In the women's, we got the tag champions, Alba Fire, Isla Dawn coming up, as well as the KCs, Carter and Chance. We've got Zoe Stark as well, rounding out the Raw Women's division. Quite a few call-ups. Is there anyone there that you're super interested or you got a little bit of stock in, other than Cameron Grimes?
Well, there's always Grayson Waller.
You did get two of your boys up on the same show.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting how they work it. I have no idea what they're planning to do with the 2 sets of tag titles for the women. We already found out what they're. Yeah, we already found out what they're going to do with the NXT Women's Championship. It's been relinquished by our girl Indy.
Can't believe I missed her. Yeah, Indy Hartwell coming up as well.
So, and there's a possibility they could reform the way, especially with the heel being on, that was in the group now on the other show, so we don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, we do have Gargano, LeRae, Hartwell, and Loomis. Loomis did carry Indy Hartwell off at the end of NXT, so they're definitely still pulling something off on the main roster.
Yeah. So yeah, I also think there might be something with, there are 2 specifically free agents that are in from NXT that I think could come into play, being Von Wagner, which I could see them trying to see if anything can stick with him, and Zion Quinn. So it's very possible. But yeah, there are also Gunther versus JD. That's a possibility now.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for alignments, but it would be a great freaking match.
Just Gunther versus everybody, man. Just put it all together.
You just gave an idea to do a gauntlet match.
Yeah. Oh, and Odyssey Jones as well. Yeah.
Or, back in the day, just literally everybody, the entire roster versus Gunther, because that happened once. It was John Cena and Randy Orton versus the entire Raw roster. Riddick Moss coming back and getting his name back. We don't have a madcap anymore. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was just the way they built the rosters, I think, just it creates so many interesting possibilities now.
Yeah, it's really that breath of fresh air. And I think this is the right time for it. You do WrestleMania with your big matches, you have Backlash, which lets you build a few newer stories, but also just round out your big stories, and then you shake it all up and you start again. Backlash sort of acts as that little epilogue to the main event of WrestleMania, and I like it. I think it works well. We should do it yearly. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to the unification of the Women's Tag Team Championships. If I keep saying it enough, it'll happen. We've been pushing for it for a little while. You got them both on the main roster. Now would be the perfect time to do it, or a specific pay-per-view that's named all around championships being on the line would be a great time. And then NXT doesn't have to deal with having their own titles around there. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what we end up getting. But, as always, we have run out of time this week. It's been great talking to you.
Bye, B.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRNDup, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRNDup, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/WrestlingRNDup. And we will catch you next week with the results from Backlash.